If you want a way to become more established in your niche or a way to be able to raise your prices, then this episode is for you. You might not have ever thought about becoming an author, but I have a New York Times bestselling ghostwriter here to share with us why you just might want to consider it. We also get to talk a little bit about what it's been like in my experience starting to write my very own book. You're listening to the Badass is the New Black podcast. I'm Krissy Chin, your host, here to teach you how to build an online business that you love and in a way that allows you to work a little bit less so you can enjoy a whole lot more. My hope is that you've showed up to today's episode ready to learn something new and will be inspired to take imperfect action in your business right away. I won't make you wait any longer. Let's dive in. Let's welcome Amelia Forczak. She's a New York Times bestselling ghostwriter and the founder of Pithy Wordsmithery, a Chicago-based firm that specializes in helping people write and market their books. Amelia works with leaders to help them build and monetize their thought leadership and grow their businesses. Over the past 10 years, she's written over 10 books or ghostwritten over 10 books and edited many others. Amelia, I'm super excited that you're here to talk to you again. You were in the summit, in the standout summit. So we've already gotten to chat kind of about this topic. But now we have like a different angle. I've actually personally worked with you on book writing. So I'm excited to dive into that a little bit. A little bit of mine and Amelia's background, kind of how we know each other. Fun fact, we went to high school together.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like we were calling each other to hang out. It was just kind of like my group of friends and your group of friends kind of intermingled. So we'd see each other at, parties or, sports stuff or whatever. And then years, I won't say how many years because that will date us. Exactly. Years and years later, you reached out to me on Instagram and you were just seeing what saw what I was doing, what I was creating, doing digital courses and such. And you're like, hey, I'm interested in expanding my business into digital products to serve more people. And so that was just kind of how we reconnected and started working together.
Yeah, it was awesome to reconnect. It's funny because we hadn't talked in years and we're both interested in what the other person is doing from a business standpoint. It's like, wait, tell me all these things. When you tell me all of these things. So yeah, it's turned into a fun little thing.
I love it. And now you've done private coaching with me. I've done private coaching with you. You have been a student in my Build a Blissful Business course. I've been a student of one of your courses that we'll talk about later. You've been in my summit. I probably already said that a million times. So it's just fun to now connect again on the podcast. Just another way for people to get to know what you're doing and just hear about all of these things and get a ton of value if you want to, or you're thinking about writing a book. Maybe it's just been like a thought that's popped into your head. For years, doing my business, I've had a million book ideas. I'm like, I want to write a book one day, not having no idea what to do. And I think I've probably had 5 or 6 different book ideas. And let me tell you, you guys, what we've settled on now is not any of the ones I came up with before, which I think is just funny to see the process. But the reality is we all evolve, right, in our businesses as we go along. So at the point you're ready to actually write a book, most likely what you originally thought about is probably not the topic. Do you find that with your clients?
Yeah, it's so true. The majority of the time I work with people, when we talk through the goals that they have for their book, their niche, strategy, what they might want to write about, and I help them with their outline, it's definitely different from what they originally had in mind. And it's not because I'm steering them in any particular direction, but I want to help them think about this book is going to be in their life for the next 5 or 10 years. What does that look like? How would that fit into their thought leadership or their expertise or, revenue streams for their business? And that makes them think about it a little bit differently than what they originally had in mind. And we usually go a different direction. So
Yeah, that's definitely what happened to me. And we'll talk more about that. Before we really dive in case someone didn't see you on the Standout Summit and they don't really know you, I want you to share just a little bit about your background and how you got to where you are. Because in high school, I don't remember you being like, I'm going to be a New York Times bestselling ghostwriter.
yeah, it's funny because I always wanted to write books. I just didn't really understand like what that would look like, I guess. So I went to school for journalism and knew that I loved writing, but all of the newspapers were like shutting down around that time, consolidating. It was just not a good time to go into that. So I went into marketing. So much of marketing is writing content. And the opportunity to write a book kind of just fell in my lap. I was working for a consulting firm and the CEO got approached by a literary agent and she was like, would you like to write a book? This, publishing house is looking for an HR expert. And he said he wanted to do it, but he didn't have time. And I was like, I'll write it. So excited because like I'd always wanted to write a book. So I ended up writing it. It became a New York Times bestseller. And I realized that that's really what I wanted to do. I knew I always wanted to do it. And then when I did it, I was like, yes, this is the thing. So I wrote another book through that company. And then I just started my own business on the side. And I've been writing about a book a year, maybe a little bit more for the past like 10 years. And I mostly write, it's all nonfiction. Most of it's leadership books that teach people how to do something. So I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, executives, people who do public speaking or coaching, and they have a platform and they have the thought leadership. So the book is just like another medium to share that. And it's kind of become like the new standard for being an expert in your field is like having a book. So it's been a great way for me to meet a lot of really interesting people and learn new things and just always keep it fresh.
Love it. Love it. And I love that. So like you went to school for journalism. So you had, it was, and you always wanted to write a book. So it's like something that you had thought about, but didn't really know what to do. Then you kind of use these skills that you were building along the way. And when opportunity came, you were like, I'm in.
Yeah.
And you didn't, did you think twice about it? Where you're like, I don't know. Or were you just like, I'm in?
Well, I was like, yeah, I'll write that book. And then I was like, oh, I have to write that book. And it was like, we had like a deadline, and we had an advance and they put you on, they make you sign a contract, which is smart that they do this, but it's like, if you don't finish writing the book, you have to give the money back.
Yeah.
And so that's like a big problem, right?
Right.
Like, if I don't finish this, I will for sure lose my job. Like I need to finish this book on time. And so that sort of like got me into the mode of like producing content and realizing you just get it done. You just like block time in your schedule and get it done. And so it's like this thing that's not like abstract anymore, where I was like, someday I want to write a book. It's like, well, you schedule it and then you write it. Like, makes sense.
It's definitely your accountability piece for sure. If you're going the publishing route and they've given you an advance and give you a deadline, and if you don't make it, you have to give the money back. Like that is your accountability, because that's definitely, what I've struggled with, why I thought about writing a book for years and never did, because there wasn't that accountability to be like, yep, by this date. And so work on writing. I was just like, I just kind of focused on other things. So I can see how that can be your accountability, like kick in the butt.
Yeah. You know what? Fun fact, Barack Obama, one of his publishing deals like back in the day, he actually had to give the money back because he did not finish the book.
Oh no.
So like it happens to the best of us. Like we get busy,
Yeah, totally. Oh my gosh, that's funny. Okay. And so then you started your own business. Sorry, my chair is very squeaky over here. Started your own business. So like most of the people listening, took on a new venture that you were like, okay, you didn't go to business school, right?
No.
Yeah. So you're just having to kind of figure things out as you were going.
Totally winging it. Like I started as like a solopreneur, trying to like look a little bit bigger than I was, I guess, like putting on my website, like we do this. It's like, okay, just kidding. It's just me. Years later, we do have a we, so there's like 10 of us now. But getting to this point has been an interesting journey. Like scaling your business is hard. And nobody taught me how to do any of these things. So it has been like mostly trial and error, but it's been exciting. I really love being an entrepreneur.
And so someone who's kind of just getting started, what's one, piece of advice just from entrepreneur to entrepreneur that you can give that person?
Gosh, I don't know. There's so many things. There's so many things. It's a journey, I guess, like having patience. I always want everything right now. Like I want it all to be done right now and perfect. And that's like not how it works. So I think just being patient with yourself and realizing that as you do things, you're going to learn how to do them better and get more efficient, and like your business will look completely different years from now than what it looks like right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I, just from talking with you, working with you, I know that is 100% the case for you, 100% the case for me. You mentioned working more efficiently, like you'll get more efficient. So is there a system or a process or something that you've done for your business from, day one till now that has just been a game changer for you?
Yeah, we made a lot of improvements over the past couple years because I went from doing everything myself to having other people do it for me. And I think I was in the mindset for a while where it was like, I'll save money if I do it myself instead of paying someone else to do it. And it definitely got to be that way too. So I had a baby about 3 years ago and I scaled down my business. And then when I was scaling back up, it was like, it was a mess. And finally, I think at that point, I realized like I need to teach other people how to do these things. So instead of having all the information just in my head, I needed to like get it on paper, have a system for it, like teach someone else how to do it so that it can run without me. And like it, it was things that like when I first started, weren't that hard, like invoicing or paying people. Like I invoice a client every month. It's not that bad. But when I'm invoicing like 20 clients and like, 10 different people have worked in some combination on all of these projects, like it took me years to be like, we need to bill clients at the same time every month. Like that's so obvious, but we didn't used to do that, So there are a lot of improvements that I made.
So would you say kind of taking that initial step to hire someone was
Yeah.
kind of that like 180 factor for you?
Yeah, I mean, I had hired people to work on client projects like long before this. And so I had like a website developer and a graphic designer, and I had a proofreader because we do marketing services for authors also, in addition to helping with just writing books. So I had people on client projects, but I never really invested in having people work for Pithy, like for my company. So all of our internal stuff was what was messy. All the client stuff was like looking great. But then for my own things, I was like, I should invest in my own business. Like I should get an accountant. I should get someone to help me schedule calls with leads. So yeah, putting that investment in, I think has been like a game changer.
I love that because that's literally what my book is helping people do.
Yeah.
So that's
No, your book is like everything that I need.
Oh my God, I love that. See, now this is my accountability. Now I'm going to actually really have to write the book because now we're talking about it to the public. So I'm going to have to finish up the rest of the book. But cool. Before we dive into book stuff, just curious, as I love when I have students that are on the podcast, when I hear kind of about their journey, I love to just have you share just a little bit about either your experience like with the Build a Blissful Business course, because a lot of people that have done that course are kind of in either the beginning stages of their business, or they haven't really thought about their brand and marketing their brand. I mean, you knew that, right? Like you were marketing for other people, like you had a website and all of this stuff. So when you came in and took the course, you were an established entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And I remember you saying that it was helpful. So are there little pieces that you want to share about kind of what stood out to you and what helped you?
Yeah, I thought the course was awesome. And I have a background in marketing and I'd been in business for like 10 years when I'd taken the course. And a lot of this stuff but you don't take the time to do it for yourself. So we'd help other clients with like how do they want their brand to make other people feel? What are the keywords for like how you want to be perceived, or like the vibe for your branding or whatever. And I was happy with the branding I put together like 10 years ago. And I knew that it was sort of like time for a change, but I was trying to figure out how to evolve it. And the course helped me really realize that I needed to just make it be what I want. Cause I think I was trying to have it make sense, or it was like, well, this is what it was before. Maybe I should have it evolve along these same lines or whatever. And it made me think more about like, no, it should connect more to my personality and like what I really like. And so I think the course inspired me to do like more of a total revamp on our branding. So we did like our logo is like a little bit more elevated and sophisticated than it was before. The color palette is like richer. The brand looks like a little bit more upscale because I feel like that's more of what we're going for. So the branding, I feel like matches my personality a lot better. And it was just like, it inspired me to do that work. So I think that was super helpful. Another thing that I really loved about it actually was like, at first I was like, I don't need to do the homework. I'll take the course and I'll just like do the homework in my head. And then I was like, no, I should follow the instructions and do the homework. And I put all the answers down and I realized it was like extremely helpful later when I was like hiring someone for social media. They're like, what's your brand about? And I'm like, I've already done this work and that means I don't have to do it again right now. So I'll just forward them these things. And so like when I was trying to explain to people, like, this is what I want my website to look like or my branding, I just sent those documents to my freelancers and it was so easy.
Yes. Oh, I love like the things that really helped you, because that was exactly the purpose. It's called Build a Blissful Business, like something that you love. So I love that it really inspired you to really make it, something that felt aligned with you. So love that. And yeah, the homework, like don't get scared of homework.
I was like, I don't need this, Krissy. Thanks for the suggestion on the homework, but I'm going to skip it.
Right. You're like, I'm a successful entrepreneur. I don't need homework. But really thinking of it more of like, it's actually your accountability to create these pieces of data or like PDFs and whatnot that you can share with the people that you end up hiring. So yeah. So creating that mood board and the brand book with your colors and your fonts, like I'm forcing you to get it done so that you have it for your brand. But I love that you were like, perfect. I can just send this to, someone who's helping revamp my website and be like, here you go. Because I remember when someone was helping me with one of those pieces, like the brand, and they were like, oh, it was for the summit actually, where he was like, send me all of your brand book. And I was like, what? Like, okay. And he was like, yeah, like the colors and the fonts. And I was like, dang, now I got to go spend like hours, putting this together or whatever. But it's like, you have those pieces, or a copywriter, tell me about your brand and your ideal client. It's like, here you go. Like, I already put it down on paper so long ago, like I'm just going to hand it over. So I love that you leveraged it in that capacity. It was just exactly how it was intended.
Yeah, I'm actually still using it randomly. It's like for our Instagram now, it's like we should have branded, like a branded template for certain types of things. Like if we do an interview with someone, or one of our clients has a best-selling book, or we want to promote something and we want it to be branded, we should have a template. And I'm like, okay, let's go back to the brand guide. Like, here are the colors. So it's like, it's still useful for things, even when we're like, oh yeah, that was useful. No, we're still using it for new things.
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole, my intention with people here listening on the podcast is that I can help you be really intentional doing one action so you can use it over and over again, or it can set you up to make life a whole lot easier down the road when you get to that next step in your business or in your journey or as you evolve. So that's a really amazing testimonial. And I promise I didn't pay Amelia to say any of that.
No, not at all.
We'll put the link to that, to Build a Blissful Business, in the show notes for you guys. And I don't know, we should give them like $50 off or something with a promo code. So we'll come up with a promo code for Amelia. We'll put her referral link in there and put that in the show notes for you guys. But let's dive into like the real topic, the writing a book topic, because this is why I wanted to bring you on and just kind of talk about my experience and my journey with you, because I know that there are a lot of people out there that are even just thinking at some point, like I mentioned, at some point, I want to write a book, but they're doing other things. And I've learned from you that becoming an author is one way to help you increase your prices.
Yeah.
Like, sure. So do you want to share a little bit about that? Like, how does becoming an author just automatically mean I get to charge more?
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason why people want to write books. Some of it's for personal fulfillment, bucket list item, accomplishment. That's obviously a huge part of it. Another part of it is it just makes sense for your brand. Like it's a big marketing piece for your brand and business, which means it's going to help you bring in new clients. It can help you charge more. You can get, taken more seriously. You seem credible. I've talked with a lot of my clients on how writing a book changed their life, and I've heard all kinds of things. Like people have higher revenue, they're getting connected with more like bigger clients, they're getting more introductions. So I think that it definitely does give you like a boost in revenue and credibility. Speaking is another big thing. I know we're not speaking a lot right now with COVID. There's not a lot of events going on, but public speaking pays really well. And a lot of public speakers have books. So that can be like the difference maker in even getting a gig, a speaking gig, or charging a lot more for it.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's like anyone can write a book. Doesn't mean you're going to write a really good one, but anyone can write a book, but so many people don't. So the people that do, it really shows someone else, oh, they're really investing in themselves, in their business. They've taken the time, they're dedicated. So it almost gives other people this perception of you that you want them to have, right? That you're like doing things and you're going places, or if you haven't gotten there, you're definitely going to be going there. So adding that to your list of all your things to do, like it makes sense as to why someone, might want to hire you for a speaking gig. Or like if someone's looking at two different people for this speaking event, you guys kind of do the same thing, and one of them is an author and one of them isn't.
Yeah.
Like, they're probably going to go with the person that's an author because it seems like they're maybe more established or
Absolutely.
have more experience or whatever. That might not be the truth at all.
Yeah.
You know?
They also like the image of that for events because it makes people look a little bit more successful. So if they've got a book, they can also market it in the event. You can do like a book signing at the back of the room. It just adds a little bit more to the event. So I think that is helpful also.
Yeah. So if you weren't thinking of writing a book, you should definitely be thinking about it.
Yeah, it's becoming more and more the standard, and it's honestly doable. Like people get so intimidated by it, and it is a lot of work, but it's not like something you have to do in one day, right?
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
like I almost think about it like you're thinking like, "Oh, I should get my degree." You're like, "Oh my God, that's so much work though. Like I can't do it." It's like you can do it. You won't do it in one day or one week, but yes, you should get your degree. You'll work at it and then you'll get it done. It's kind of
Mhm.
like that for book too.
Yeah. So being able to add that to your repertoire, it's kind of like, a podcast, like that's going to add something. Having a book, that's going to add something.
Mhm.
So I love that. Let's talk about, we'll go back to kind of what you mentioned before about how typically when you start working with someone, the topic that the book ends up not being what they originally came to you with. And I am living proof of that. I don't even remember what the idea was that I came to you with. I think it was like, I want to inspire people to like go for it and like do this
Yeah.
business thing and inspire them and like tell them how they can make it work. And when we sat down in the first session and even going through the course and watching your videos, it was like, all right, let's think big picture. And I do this with my private clients and with my students. It's like, wait, big picture, where do you want to be 5 years, 10 years? And so valuable. What you said to me was, we want this book to stand the test of time. Like we
Mhm.
want it to be a good marketing piece for you in that 5 years or 10 years when you're known for whatever you want to be known for. And so that completely shifted what we decided to do the book on.
Yeah, that's a big thing is like understanding your niche. So when I work with authors and they're trying to think of what to write about, or maybe they have an idea or a couple ideas, um, they don't always think about how the topic aligns with their personal brand or what they want their brand to be. So maybe the brand isn't there quite yet. Maybe you're still like working on it, you're still building your business, but however you want to be known in, a few years, what does that look like? Like ideally your book topic is going to align with whatever that thing is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also super important because you want to be able to sell copies of the book. You can also give them away for free, but you want to be able to get that book into people's hands. And if the book is about something that has nothing to do with your personal brand or how you're known, that disconnect makes it really hard to market it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
totally. And that was something that I'm so glad that I got help on with it. I mean, the last thing I ever want to do is do a bunch of work on something and then realize it was kind of a waste of time because I did it wrong or I did it in a way that isn't going to be as effective as it could be. And so that's why I'm always just a huge proponent of like buying the course to teach me how, or hiring the coach to show me the way. Like if someone's done it before me and knows what they're doing, like I want to fast track my way to that. I couldn't imagine just kind of writing a book on my own without any guidance and then coming up with something that's amazing. So
yeah, I would say most people can't do that. So like, that's like usually not a good idea for writing a book. I think getting help is huge. Otherwise you can just like spend so much time writing and writing and writing, and maybe you won't end up using most of the content in the book, because even if the writing is good, maybe it doesn't end up aligning that well with your topic, or, you're writing it and it just doesn't have, maybe it's not something that your target market's interested in, or maybe that's not really like your expertise and it's easy to get that information from a quick Google search. So there's no real reason for you to provide it in a book.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The thing that I was going to say before totally just popped in my head. I knew it was going to happen. Is publisher versus self-publishing. So also like being able to get guidance from you on that. That's like a big reason why people didn't publish books before. Back in the day, they had to get a publisher. So you probably had to, I don't really know the process, you know better than me, but like they would have to pitch themselves to a publishing house, right?
Yeah, so it still works the same way for traditional publishing, and it's basically like you have to get accepted. So somebody has to believe in your idea, not just in like the quality of the idea, but in the profitability of the idea. Like publishing houses, they're for-profit businesses. They want to make money, so they're going to represent authors and books that they think are going to sell a lot of copies. And so much of that is tied to like the author's platform. So like how many people they're connected to on social media, or how many people they speak in front of a year, rather than like the actual idea of the book, which is kind of sad, so it was really like leaving a lot of people out who had great ideas for books just because they didn't have a huge following already. Yeah. So I think self-publishing has made it so that anybody can publish, which is great. Also publishing, I think, they don't really do as much to market books as they used to. It used to be like you could sort of like rely on your publisher to get a little bit of help. It gets you into bookstores. That's how you're selling copies, is in bookstores. Now, so many people buy books on Amazon and online, or maybe you sell them directly at your events, that those same like distribution channels don't matter as much. And then publishers aren't really doing as much to market the book, so that support isn't there. So without those benefits, self-publishing is looking a lot better, right? It's easier. You don't have to get a literary agent. You don't have to write a book proposal. Nobody has to accept you. You're just responsible for the quality of your book. Like, yeah, you have permission to publish crap if you self-publish. And so you do see some books out there that are like looking a little bit rough. You don't want to be one of those books. So you want to have like professional level editor, professional graphic designer on your cover. But if you do it right, like a self-published book can be just as good, if not better, than for, a traditional publishing house.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of the really cool part of like, anyone out there listening right now, or me, like it allows us to be in this game of becoming an author, on our own. But we all, I know you out there listening, you want to strive to do it well. Yeah. Right? Like you said, don't put out that rough book, but something that actually is going to help somebody. And then in the process, also be that perfect piece in addition to your brand and your business.
Exactly.
Love it. So the major thing that we've worked on together is really coming up with the outline of the book. So it's like, we worked on the topic, that was a complete shift. With that, and then the outline of the book. And what was really cool about this is I did Amelia's course and, came up with my outline based on the teachings that she did in her course. And then we met privately and like worked together privately as well. So like I also gave her all of the information, and then she came up with the outline of how she would do it with a private client. And when we compared them, it was like they were so aligned, like it was almost freaky.
It was awesome. It was like, I was so happy to see that though, because I'm like, okay, well, this is how I would do it. And I'm trying to teach people to think like how I would think to put it together. And when I saw that you had done it the same way from watching all those videos, I was like so happy.
Yeah, like just such a crazy different type of validation that it works, right? Because you can have people go through a course, any course, and they can be like, yeah, it worked. I came up with an outline, right? Like I came up with something. So like it worked. They have something. But to have that, be able to see that I came up with basically the same thing that you came up. And you guys, there's a million different ways that you can, outline your book. Right? Like we could have shifted chapters around so differently or put different topics from the brain dump in different categories.
There were like 50 bullet points at least, probably.
Right.
To wrangle them into almost the same order is like kind of weird.
Right. And so I remember thinking, well, I could do it this way, or I could do it that way, or I could put these together, or I could put it in this order, but I could do this. And then I just remember like what you had said in the videos, it just kind of guided me to be like, nope, I think this is the best, thing to do. And then you organized it the same way. And I was like, oh, ta-da, like the stars have aligned. This is amazing.
Yeah, it was super cool.
It was really cool. So we've done the outline and then worked on the back cover, and now it's like game time. I gotta put in the work to write the book. So my first tip for someone out there listening who wants to write a book, of course, is to grab Amelia's course. Do you want to tell them the name of your course? We'll put the link in there in the show notes for people.
Yeah, it's called Nail Your Outline, and it's based off of the one-on-one coaching practice that I have. So it's kind of like the DIY version of it. And like Krissy was saying, it really, it worked to come up with like a really solid outline. And I think you were saying too, you would not have come up with this outline if you had not done this course.
No, because I just have these ideas that come to me and I'm like, oh, I could turn this into a book. And it was basically just because it was an idea that I liked, right? And it like felt good. But I was like, why aren't I taking my own advice? Like, wait a minute, strategy, intention for the business. And that was what you kind of helped bring back into perspective for me. I was like, wait a minute, I know that this is a feel good, topic that it'll make you feel good to write about it. But, long term, is it the best option for your brand and your business? Because we don't want to waste time doing things.
Yeah. It's funny because your idea was very like rooted in personal development and like how to be happy and successful. And it's like, these things, but I feel like some other things that are way more valuable and fewer people know them.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, so how do we like home in on those things that people can't get somewhere else?
Yeah. And here's the reality. You can write more than one book. People do it all the time, right? So like at least have your first one be a lot more intentional. That's my advice. I don't know if you'd give the same advice. Have your first one be more intentional just in case you never write that second one.
Yeah, I mean, no, that's a great point. Like I'm working with an author right now where his initial manuscript was like over 100,000 words. Okay, that's a lot. It's like, I don't know how many pages that is because in the book world we go by word count, but for Krissy's book, what are we focusing on? Like 25,000 words or something. So he's got over 100,000 words. And I was like talking to my editor the other day and he was like, I think it's like every thought he's ever had is in the book. And I'm like, I think you're right. It is. And we need to tell him that all those thoughts are good, but they can't all be in the book. Like we can move some of them to other places. And so that's what we're doing as we're editing the manuscript. We're taking out all the things that are great stories, but maybe aren't needed in the book. And we're putting them into a content library. So we're building this like long running document of things that he can then use to create blog posts, or he could do a LinkedIn post on it. He could put it in an e-blast. So if you have a lot of content that you've written and maybe it doesn't quite work in the book, or ideas that don't fit in the book, put them somewhere else. Like there are so many different ways to put out content.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that was something in the course I remembered when we're working on, like the brain dump and such. You're like, most of the time, or you will have leftover content, like leftover ideas. Everything that you put down should probably not be in the book. So like, but putting everything was super helpful, and then realizing, and it's like hard to cut stuff, right? You guys, because you're like, but it's a good idea. And you're like, okay, but it's a good idea for like book number 2. Right. So hold off on that. You mentioned this content library piece of it. And I know I've heard you talk about it before. We've talked about it before, being able to repurpose content that you've already done for your book. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, there's 2 different ways that you can use a content library. So like I was saying, you can pull content out of your book and have a content library for other things, or probably the more common way is like you already have existing content in other places, but maybe you don't have the book yet. So you want to write a book, and maybe you like writing and you've written some different articles and you've written blog posts, or you've done some workshops. So you've got this content and you're trying to figure out how it all fits together and what you already have to see how much could fit in the book and how much you would still need to create. So I like to copy and paste everything into one document just so that you can see what you have. It can be a lot of content. Like I did this for myself a year or 2 ago, and I had like over 20,000 words. So that's like pretty, it's like a half a book, a whole book, like depending on how long you want the book to be. It's a lot of content. So like you'll obviously need to edit and move it around from there, but that can be something that is really encouraging if you want to write a book and you feel like you are overwhelmed or you're not working with that much to start with, because you probably have more than you think you do.
Mm-hmm. And what platform do you use to have this content library?
I use Word for everything. I know Word's like not cool anymore. People use like Google Docs or other things, and like Word is like this old thing. I don't know. It's great for track changes, so that's what I use, but you can really use anything, and if some of it depends on like the type of like media you have too. Like maybe you have podcast episodes or you've got videos. So I think if you at least like have a place where you've got all the links to things, or you're like time stamping where you're talking about things, you can always get things transcribed too. Cheap transcription services, like there are a bunch of them. So I'd recommend doing that too.
Yeah. I mean, that's partly why I got hooked on Searchy, which I know we've talked about that platform before, because I can put my videos, like all of my podcast videos go in there. And then whether it's a library that my students can search, or like I did that for the Build a Blissful Business course, you could literally search within any of the videos in that course. But also for me as a creator and creating all these things for repurposing, I can have a library of all these videos and I can just search terms and phrases. So if I, in the book was like, okay, I'm writing about funnels, then I can go search funnels in all of my videos and it'll pull up in the video and where it is to be able to like extract that. Okay, great. Oh, that was a great point that I made from 2 years ago that I would not have remembered. And great, I can put that in the book and elaborate.
That's a great efficiency tip in general. Like I know your book is focusing on efficiencies. That's like one of the main things, is like just becoming more efficient and not wasting time doing the same thing over and over. That's something I need to get better at, because like I write a lot of content, and I've created these courses, and there's like a ton of content in the courses. And then I want to create like a training video for the course. And I'm like starting to talk about something, and I know I've talked about this probably 50 times, but where is it? And it's in a bunch of places that I can't find, basically.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that kind of circles back to just, what you talked about in the beginning when you were like, it was so much more helpful for me to like invest in my business, whether that's hiring people or programs to do things for me. Where can you be more efficient? So absolutely. We've covered a lot. I think we've given some really good tips in terms of, if you've got an idea. I hope you've been inspired if you have the idea of writing a book, like that you can do it. We totally believe in you. And, I vouch for Amelia in terms of giving you the tips and framework to get started. And I do think that it's one of the most important pieces. And from working with you, in creating this course for people, it was like, this is a huge misstep that people take in writing their book. They don't create a solid outline, and that's the backbone of the book. So like, if you're going to get help on anything, like any part of the book, I just remember you saying like, they need help on this part.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I completely agree with that, just because like you can waste so much time, like before you even know it, you can waste so much time writing something in the wrong direction, when if you just got on the right path to begin with, it would save you hours and hours of your time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the outline is the most important thing. And that will put you like on a great path moving forward. And even if then it's something like you want to hire someone to help you write the book, at least then you know what the book looks like. So it's way easier to get help at that point. Whereas like working with a writer just on the outline in general, I think it can be tricky, because there's like a lot of inner work that needs to happen with like what you want to do with your business, where you want to go, which is like maybe not exactly what a writer does unless you get someone who specializes in that. So yeah, the outline is big, and then you can get help from there.
Yeah. All right. So guys, that's your next step. If you want to write a book, you got to, in the show notes, click on Amelia's course and grab that course. You do have a freebie for those listening. 10 simple steps to start writing your book. So tell the listeners why they need to go to the show notes, download this freebie. Guys, we have a lot for you in the show notes, but like take a minute to look at it all because it's all amazing.
Yeah, the 10 simple steps is great. So it'll give you a lot of ideas for things that you can do. I think outline is on there, but there are other things also. So like thinking about your marketing, or, just like little steps that you can take. Maybe you like want to dip your toe in the water for writing a book, but you're not ready to fully commit. There are things that you could be doing now to start thinking about your path moving forward. And then also collecting content that you could ultimately use in your book. So maybe being more intentional about, if you do need to write some blog posts or articles, like how can you write them so that they will be able to be modified for your book in a year or a couple years? So that can be like you're doing yourself a big favor if you can figure that stuff out now.
Okay, perfect. So you guys can grab that for free in the show notes, 10 simple steps to start writing your book. This has been awesome. I've loved chatting with you again, kind of talking about our experiences. I know it's going to be super valuable for you guys out there listening. Before we tell people how to find you, are you up for a little game?
Oh, you didn't tell me about a game.
I didn't. Full surprise. It's a quick, like, would you rather, or like rapid fire.
Okay, yes.
Okay, just for everyone to get to know you a little bit. A little bit more. All right. So I'm just going to read off two things, and you, without even thinking, just tell me what they are. And if it's not either of those and you have a different answer you want to give, go ahead. Okay. There's no big rules here. All right. Beer or wine?
Wine.
Pool or beach?
Beach.
If you were stranded on an island with one book, what would it be?
My favorite book is called Be Here Now. And it was written in late 60s, early 70s by a guy who was a professor. Oh gosh, I think at Stanford, and like experimented with LSD and about his journey. I highly recommend it. It's the best book ever. Be Here Now.
Be Here Now. Perfect. We might have to put that in the show notes. All right. Audiobooks or reading books?
I love audiobooks.
Me too. It's really the only way that I quote read, because I'm just like doing stuff. So, although it does feel really good to just like sit down with a blanket, like hold a real book in your hand, but I'm done with audio. All right. Heels or flats?
Flats. I'm 5'10", so I mean.
Well, let's be honest. You're not trying to get any taller. Okay. I love it. Phone call or text message? when communicating with people?
I'm a texter for sure, but it is nice to call the people you care about and check in with them.
So you don't care about me because we just text?
I talk to you all the time. What you should add Zoom in there.
Right. Or Zoom. Movie or TV series?
TV series.
Cook yourself or order in?
We order in, but not that much. Yeah.
Prefer to have a meal that you prepared?
Yeah. I want healthy food. If I could order in more healthy food, then I would do it.
Okay. Vacation with friends or with family?
Friends. No offense, family.
Love you. Favorite thing to do to relax?
I don't know. So if you're watching this, you'll see my dog behind me. If you're listening to this, hopefully you don't hear her because I was hoping she'd be quiet. But if I need to relax, like instant relaxation, I just pet her. It's like it helps my like mental state.
Yeah, like your therapy dog.
Basically. Yeah, she's my emotional support beast.
Love it. Love it. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Okay. And last but not least, favorite season of the year?
Summer for sure. Yeah.
Summer in Chicago is very fun.
Yeah, that's the whole reason why people live here. We suffer through the entire winter and usually the cold spring just for a few months of summer.
Yeah, I think that's the only reason why people live there. I love it. Well, Amelia, thank you. Best way to connect with you. I know you're really active on LinkedIn. So where can we find you?
Yeah, you can look me up on LinkedIn, Amelia Forczak. It's Amelia Forczak. And then I'm also on Instagram, Pithy Wordsmithery.
And there's an underscore in there, right? Like
yeah.
Underscore wordsmithery. We'll put everything in the show notes. So if you're listening, quick way to grab her is in the show notes. All right, that's it. Thank you so much for being here. This was super helpful, and I can't wait to see what others' experiences are with writing a book. Or you guys, if you are inspired to like think about writing a book, send us a message on our socials. We would love to hear from you, and kind of what you're thinking about. And you guys are just going to have to stay tuned for my book. This is my accountability kick in the pants. I have to pencil in the calendar to do a little bit every day. So thank you again, Amelia. This has been great. And we'll chat again soon.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Bye. Until next time, remember, done is better than perfect, my friend, and to channel your inner badass and take imperfect action every single day.